What's going on, guys? Today's episode is going to be a little different than the average one, and the reason for that is because I'm not going to be solving somebody's case, and I'm not going to be recovering somebody's data. I'm going to be working on the device that I use to recover data with. I've been using multi-com adapters for many years now, and in fact, the adapter that I'm going to be working with today is so old it even doesn't have a date stamp on it. Usually the adapters that you're going to buy from them today, they're going to have a manufacturing date stamped on the side of it. Mine does not have that. That's how old it is. But I've been noticing that my SanDisk pattern of unrecoverable cards kind of started to take a little bit of a unlucky streak. I was like, okay, well, that could be a coincidence. And this brings me back to something that I always say to myself, but for some reason decided to neglect this time. Always make sure you double check yourself and make sure, don't just assume, right? I've been noticing that my SanDisk cards would not ID when I attempt to read it, even though they're not showing any sort of VCC line shorts. And the readings are proper, sometimes even do communicate with a controller, but I'm not getting the ID. That was a little bit strange to me, but I didn't really think much of it up until recently. Recently I started working on the device that I knew was functional because I had it tested through wire adapter, but when I plugged it into this adapter, it wasn't showing up ID. That's when I started the investigation you're about to watch today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you use these tools. Anyways, any comments are welcome as much as possible. Guys, you know that these types of signals help to boost our channel. If you want to also support our channel by signing up to our Patreon, I'll leave the link in the description. We're starting to kind of roll out in there. There's a little bit of a crowd building up in there. Cool things being discussed on Patreon, along with some stuff that could be very helpful for those who are in the data recovery field. So enjoy the show. Let me know what you think. Multicom is a company I love for their adapters that they make. I buy all this equipment from them genuinely because I feel like they do bring a lot of value in form of a time saving to those who do chip off recovery. Those of you who are in the field probably know that one of the more common microSD cards that come into the shop are these SanDisk microSDs. These SanDisk microSDs, unlike many other brands, have a universal pinout most of the time, that if we look at one underneath the microscope, we'll see that it consists of these test points. Sometimes they're weird shaped like this, sometimes they're perfectly round. So what these test points do, they lead us to the NAND, for the NAND protocol access to the flash memory. And that's how we recover data from failed cards that do not get recognized through the controller and the interface. So what clever guys over at Multicom came up with are these adapters that use pogo pin system to connect your failed device solderlessly to a NAND protocol via their connection system. So if we look at the card and the board side by side, we see that these sets of rows along with these pads here mimic our card. They're mirror image of our card. We got a gap here. We have well, this card is not the best example, but right there is a gap. It just doesn't have universal round pads, so it's kind of hard to picture this. But there is no pad in here. There is no pad here, and we skip 2 on this side, 1, 2, and there is no pad here, although we have a pad at the bottom and technically a pad at the top. So how do these wonderful adapters connect to our cards? Those of you who follow my channel see me do this a lot of time. This is also multi-com recovery, but it's a wire breakout adapter for somebody who wants to solder their device on. This is as far as I can get using my microscope, but here you see a bunch of wires linked to similar type pads, and they break out to marked pads representing NAND protocol signals to establish NAND protocol connection so the chip off recovery can be performed. This is a solved case, by the way, and the pinout that we researched out here. What makes these adapters so special and so liked by many who use them is the fact that they're super easy to use. You don't need to solder. You don't need to know how to solder. You just need to get yourself one of these fiberglass scratch pens, or if you want to ball out, get a laser, and just need to strip this black coat on the back of the card to expose the copper circuit. You expose that circuit, and then the magic happens with assistance of these tiny little needles. Why are they called pogo pins, you may ask? Well, because that's what they are. Just like that pogo stick that you guys jumped on in your early days. I know I did. I had one of those, even though I grew up in Russia. All right, so if you apply pressure on one side, it will eventually reach a certain limit where it cannot go further. So that cylinder inside that's spring-loaded on both sides will push and shift. That will apply pressure on this pin, which will poke the surface. So, and eventually, when it reaches something to resist, the pressure connection will be established. So you have a chip that's pushing on it on this side. You have these test points on this side, right? They will ram in here, and this is already routed. So it goes all the way through the circuit and it comes out here. This is not the only beautiful thing about this adapter. This adapter actually is fully configurable. These switches here, if you turn them off, it will take an alternate connection. An alternate connection is determined by these headers and by these headers, but they need to be jumped. So that's when you're going to use a female to female like this, for example. And let's say if we wanted to reconnect our pin from this one, instead of being whatever the factory setting is on it, we wanted to go to this type of signal. The signal contacts are numbered and labeled on this side, and if we want to link them up to a new pin on our card, aka this side, we will put the jumper to that corresponding pin. So when the switches are off, our test points here are linked to these headers, and from these headers we take the wire and route it to the name of the signal. The signal then leads to the interface of the adapter. If we put the switch back on, this connection breaks, and that goes directly to the interface corresponding pad that it is designed for this specific adapter. Why are we making this video? Well, something happened with this thing. So I've been noticing that it doesn't read ID, and at first I shrug it off to a couple of problematic cards maybe. I was like, okay, now I have to revisit those cards, and hopefully we didn't ship them back yet saying they're not responding. So let's grab a pin IO7, for example, right here, and see if it rings right now to the interface. If we look on the schematic of this device, this is pin number 7 for IO right here, and if we refer back to our card, we're looking for double-sided edge, so it's this pad right here which should have IO7 ringing. So when we do the test, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a multimeter, set in a diode test mode so that it can produce a beep, or we can just put it on a beeping mode, so if it's contact we're gonna hear this noise. and let's go and ring it through here. So we got 2 pins here and 1 pin here, so this is our IO7. If we test it on the interface, 1 2 3 4 here, it's ringing right now because we have the connection set as IO7 on. Switch it down. Doesn't ring. If we were to test IO7 from this one into the interface that's gonna go into the programmer, which is gonna be right there, you hear it ring, right? Okay, so it's making this noise, that means it's connected. But if we test it here, IO7 and IO7, nothing connects. So the next thing in line is to just double check. We probe this wire and probe this. It's connected. So now if I connect this wire to IO7 up here, we're gonna have a link up to the interface. I set up on the pin, and the noise is produced. So what can we do? I thought we could take these switches out and replace them. We can, but is it going to be necessary for this adapter really? Because this is a SanDisk adapter, and the reason why I got this adapter in the first place is because SanDisk uses exact same pinout almost every single time. Right now there's a new adapter that came out that offers alternative for cards that use the same kind of segment but in a different place, so you can also use it on their cards. Maybe we'll pick that up at some point, but I found an easier solution. Let's have a look at IO0. We got an IO0 right here. IO0 on our schematic is the pin right here where the single column is. This is a dual column, single column, because we're going to be working with the mirror type of connections here, because the card needs to be put down, but here the card is facing up. So where it's getting put down, if I look at it, this is going to be IO0. Let's check if we have connection between IO0 and the card. So we're going to go to this pin here on this side and probe IO0, which is this. Let's put our multimeter on first. Wow, it's connected. Let's check here. IO0 and IO0. Wow, it's connected. Let's check further down the line. IO0 and IO0 and interface. Also connected. Why is it connected, you may ask? Our connection is set to be on. Seems like it's making sense. Let's put it to off. Is it still connected? It is. So what I've done, guys, just to make my life easier and not have to replace this adapter for the cost of this adapter, just so that it can work again, I put a jumper on the back here. Toggle the switches back and forth several times to see if the problem would go away or not. We can do that on a IO1, let's say. Maybe let's pour down some alcohol. Let's say if something did get in there. Maybe alcohol will clean it out. Alright, I did it many times. So we refer back to the schematic. Where's our IO1? IO1 is in a little bit of awkward place. It's right here. So go back, single row. Maybe we can just pour alcohol in all of them and that will fix it, but something tells me that's not likely to happen. So this is the IO1, and here IO1 is right here. Hey, it's connected. So let's pour alcohol into all of these. And toggle it back and forth multiple times. Okay, let's see the next one. We have full connection between these headers and the interface. Do we have a full connection between these and these is my question. So I'll just do them one by one, starting with IO0. IO0, no connection. IO2, no connection. We're not going to use switches then. That's fine. They're playing tricks on me again. We're just going to go and do it the way that I was going to do it in the first place. Just going to apply a bunch of flux. And I'm just going to jump them all. Let's try it again. Something tells me this time this car just does not have an option to not produce ID. Read. Would you look at that? The ID is obtained. So yeah, we can still keep the adapter. My cousin and I are working on a collective project alongside with my dad that will be released at some point to the public, and announcement will be made in terms of what it can do to help data recovery world and stuff like that. But we were just brainstorming on what could have happened and why was the adapter not working. The solution that I applied here, as you can see, consists of all of these switches to be jumped, because when they're in an on position they weren't really on at all. When I was testing it, and I think I have it on film here, each one that I tested wasn't coming up as good. So I might have only gone to a certain extent with testing them. So let's just do this for now. We're gonna disconnect some. Okay, we're not gonna disconnect all of both ends, but just one end, and that will allow me to test conductivity between the two when the switches are turned on or off. If there are some switches that are good, it will be indicated through the tests we conduct right now. Just have them all split. And this way we don't have to redo the wiring or anything like that. All switches are set to on position, so they need to ring. And if we test them, let's find out how many of them are good. Connected, connected. This one not connected, connected, not connected, 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 not connected, connected, not good, not good, not good, good, not good, not good. This one's fine, fine, good, good, not good. So as you can see, it's kind of random. So probably some contamination is causing this behavior type. I would love to take it apart physically to see what sort of contamination could create this kind of situation, but I'll wait till new switches come in. So I reached out to owner of the Multicom and I explained what the situation was. He said that we can either send them the adapter and they do the work on repair, or they can just send us the new switches and we'll have to mount them ourselves. If we send the package to Poland, it would cost the money that it takes to get it sent to Poland. It's gonna be about 80 bucks. This will take 2 minutes of my time to mount it. By the time the switches get in, because I can even have all the positions cleaned up by the time, so I don't really need to get it sent. Plus we're not gonna have any downtime with this adapter also, because as you can see, these wires will do temporary connection just fine. Let's return it all back into place. The way this adapter works right now, this is easier to obtain NAND protocol connection with than a TSO P48. It's even easier than to obtain a NAND protocol readout from BGA type of NAND chip, because you don't have to desolder, you don't have to wick out anything. All you need to have is the fiberglass scratch pen or some other way to remove the coating at the back of the card so that it's exposed, so you can actually make contact with pads. Alright, so the switch failure, something to be aware of. If it happens to you, you know how to address it. And if you didn't get an ID from your multi-recovery adapter, check these things when they're connected. I think this specific case, 8781, was the last one in an adapter. I almost wrote it off. Guess what? It's in the reader right now, getting produced, because the adapter failed and almost cost me money that I would have gotten from this recovery. Be vigilant of these things. Always double check yourself before you wreck yourself. You can see these things can happen. I haven't seen or heard of these adapters failing. I didn't find any information on forums stating that they could be failing. And I'm pretty sure this is something that the team over at Multicom is familiar with, and the newer adapters are not going to be receiving any switches that could potentially fail over time. When I reached out to Multicom, they handled it extremely well. They proposed that I can either send the damaged adapter to them and they do the fix and they ship it back, but that would have some downtime for the adapter, and that would also require me paying for shipping to send it there. Totally unnecessary. I can switch out these switches myself. So they propose that they will send these switches at no cost to us by mail. Once they come in, we'll just do the swap. I do have some other stuff that I need to order from them also. So I'll place an order, I guess, along with that, and we'll get the switches all together. So the problem is fixed temporarily for now, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to work just fine, and maybe I will have to look for the time and opportunity to take those switches out and have them replaced. It's a SanDisk card adapter. I repeated that many times in this video. So the pinout stays consistent. So if we don't have to use a custom pinout ever on this unit, why change things up, right? So thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Peace.